You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be talking King Kohli, we're going to be talking Mankads, and we're going to be talking T20 franchise leagues. I'm actually most excited about T20 franchise leagues.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's common across our audience, but I've been enjoying some SA20. I've checked in on the IL.
you're drinking the
T20.
Kool-Aid. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and Joe Clark hit the roof in the BBL, which we'll get into, and there's women's IPL stuff. Anyway, franchise stuff. That's going to be part two. Part one, we'll be talking Kohli and we'll be talking Mankads. I'm joined by Max Roy Brown. How you doing, Max?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Looking forward to it. We'll have Ross back soon, won't we? But until then, just us once more.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny period, isn't it, in the cricket calendar? In the it's not like there's a lack of cricket, but there's no real rhyme or reason to
No, we can't. There's no
it's-
narratives to explore.
It's
just some stuff happened. What do you think about that?
There's some stuff happened. There is some stuff that happened. Before we get into that, this is an unsponsored show at the moment. If you want to sponsor us, hit us up, thecricketpod@gmail.com. We'll listen to offers. If they're good offers, we don't listen to bad offers, but get in touch. However, you can support the show by signing up as a Patreon. We're going to do two plugs for the Patreon on this episode. The first one will be the plug for everyone. Anyone that wants to sign up, £5 a month, you get minimum of one bonus podcast every week, done by yours truly. You get the full Cricket Podcast crew on a monthly basis. Sometimes watching gold clips, sometimes chatting with a Patreon, all sorts of stuff. And you also get to join our Discord. That's £5 a month. It's a really good deal. It's the best time, in the history of the Cricket Podcast. This is by far the best time to sign up as a Patreon. There's a lot of free content heading your way. Later in the show, we'll talk about some more. In fact, no, let's just talk about it now. If you sign up for the tier above, which is £10 a month, you get access to some professional quality T20 data packs. Now we'll demonstrate them maybe later on the show. We'll talk about what they look like and stuff. I don't want to hold us up too much. What I will do is point you in the direction of our Twitter at the Cricket Pod if you want to have a look, see a demonstration of what these things look like. Basically, we did a deal with a guy who has processed the data.
A lot of time on his hands.
Yes, for all of the players in the SA20 and all of the players in the ILT20. So if you're interested in learning more about the game and getting sort of a richer insight into these players and what they're good at, and what they're bad at, you can get this £10 a month signing up on our Patreon, patreon.com/cricketpod. It's in the show notes. In that as well, there's venue data, there's team breakdowns, there's strengths and weaknesses comparison charts. It's pretty nuts.
The venue data is the good stuff for me. So hard to find that, and it's so relevant, especially in T20 leagues.
£5 a month keeps us in business. £10 a month, you get some great stuff, and we'll have more exclusive content through that mid tier, which will be written, but in partnership with people. We're talking scouting cricket for next month. On an ongoing basis. So great time to sign up as a Patreon. Patreon.com/thecricketpod. In the show notes. Right, Max.
Good.
In the first half of the show, we're going to be talking King Kohli.
Yeah.
Because that's probably in international cricket the big news. And we're going to be talking Mankads. Shall we do Kohli first? I believe you have prepared.
Let's do Kohli.
A soliloquy on Kohli.
A soliloquy. I wouldn't go that far, but what I have done, Jack, is I've done some stats because we like stats.
Yes.
They're very complicated stats, but I'm sure you can follow. It was well documented, wasn't it, that it took 1,020 days for Kohli to score a century after his previous one in November 2019. Recently, he scored 3 centuries in 38 days. Now, for one special bonus point, Jack, can you tell me if he continued at this rate for 1,020 days, how many centuries he would score?
Oh, right. So how many days? He scored 3 in 28 days, did you say?
3 in 38.
Oh, I don't know. That's going to be something in the region of 125.
Not quite. It's 80.
No.
But 80 centuries in the next 3 years for Virat Kohli.
Okay.
According to my very complicated forecasting model of Virat Kohli centuries. And you might ask the question then, wouldn't you? Is Virat Kohli back, Jack? Is Virat Kohli back? Is he about to enter the peak of his career at the age of 34? Or, as some might say, is a century against Afghanistan in an Asia Cup dead rubber, one against Bangladesh when his batting partner Ishan Kishan smashed 230, and two against Sri Lanka, actually easy pickings?
Right. Before we talk about that, I want to see another stat on Kohli.
Yep.
I think it was something like 3 years for Kohli to get to his 72nd century.
Yeah.
3 weeks after that to get to his 73rd century. 3 days after that to get to his 74th. Unfortunately, the pattern ended there. Like, it would have been good.
Back up to 3 years ago.
Maybe it'll go the other way. Yeah.
3 weeks.
Concertina
38 days.
effect.
It's not far off.
Is Kohli back? Well, he's certainly back-ish, isn't he? I think it's probably fair to say that he didn't properly go away in ODI cricket. That he just sort of stopped playing as much of it. Like, he had a few pretty decent scores. I think he had a really good series against Australia at some point in the last couple of years. Without that ton. It's not a massive surprise, I don't think, that when India start playing a few more ODI, or now that India have started to play a few more ODIs, we're in an ODI period of the calendar, aren't we? Building up.
So
to
I
the
think he
World Cup.
played. I think he played 11 in 2019, and since then there's hardly been any, because we've had two 2020 World Cup cycles, and that's what's been taking the focus of the calendar, along with all the franchise
did he
cricket.
Did he rest for a few as well? Maybe.
Yeah, there's a couple who play. He had a kid.
Yeah, so he's done
stuff.
There's the whole pandemic. There's some reasons that he hasn't. I think had India been playing 10 ODIs a year or 15 ODIs a year or whatever the average is, probably 20. I think he'd have had a few more centuries. So I don't think that he ever necessarily went away in ODI cricket. I think it was the other two formats where we saw a drop off, and certainly in the last T20 World Cup, he'd returned to something like his best.
And let's face it, 100s in T20 international cricket is not the measure of whether you're in form, because they don't happen very often. Josh Butler hit his first one not that long ago, and he's phenomenal. So
overall, though, I think it's good. I think it's good when the big characters in the game are scoring runs. So I'm happy to see Kohli filling his boots. And I think, home World Cup in India, obviously, we want England to crush everyone's dreams. Hopefully we do what we did at the T20 World Cup and, prevent the India-Pakistan game and derail Australia.
It would be better for everyone.
Something like that. Yeah. But another good narrative, or another interesting thing would be seeing Kohli in this kind of touch, playing at home in what might be his last World Cup in his best format. I think he has a winner's medal, doesn't he, from 2011? But you wouldn't say that was Kohli's team, or it's in his legacy. But I don't think it's. I think it's some way down the list of what do they call it in cycling? The Palme d'Ors. It would be one of the lesser notes in the career of Kohli. So great has he been.
His Oscar for best supporting special effects person.
Yeah,
something like that.
It is a little bit like that. Like, I mean, at the moment, you probably say what is his legacy? It's the Test team and the success in that.
Yeah.
And his claim to be the GOAT, I think, in ODI cricket. They're the two things.
We are still waiting for the Test century. That is
we are, but like, something. I mean, I think Kohli could be rubbish in Test cricket for another 2 years and still go down as a generational talent.
Absolutely,
He'd still be in the Fab Four for as far as Test cricket goes. I think the team he molded in his image that dominated Test cricket. Well, dominated was in the conversation. Is probably in the conversation as the best team of the last decade.
And no one's suggesting that you would drop Virat Kohli from the Test side either. But
I think that's his achievement. But it would be back to the narrative point. If he does score runs in a home World Cup and India win it, it'd be a bit like Messi signing off, wouldn't it? at the Football World Cup.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully Rishabh Pant regains fitness and celebrates with a Man of the Match trophy that he holds as a penis as well to just top things off. That would be nice.
Maybe. Yeah, that would be nice. It'd be good. I'm looking forward to seeing Pant back on the pitch. I would say, yeah, go on, Max.
Do you think Virat Kohli should knock T20 internationals on the head?
Probably.
There was a bit of speculation after the World Cup that he might. It was all speculation and didn't actually happen. But
he did. He had a good T20 World Cup, and people don't generally like retiring at the top, do they?
No.
I think that there are a couple of things in that. Well, I mean, one is how long do we expect Virat Kohli to be able to produce those performances in T20 cricket? Don't know. Was it a little bit of an outlier, that tournament in recent history? Probably, although he was good in the Asia Cup. And was, although he finishes as top run scorer, was he the best batter of the tournament? Also, probably not. So if you're gonna retire from one, then that would probably be the one to go for.
Definitely.
I don't think he has to though. I mean, he's 34. Isn't that old for a batter in T20 cricket? In cricket. Sorry,
I was just thinking, sort of like in the lead up to the sort of the hundreds he has scored recently. He's no, I mean, I don't think not sure it's necessarily by design, just happened, but he's missed a few series and a few games. He didn't play in the New Zealand series.
Oh, so you're saying maybe if he was resting here and there? Okay.
Yeah. So I think it might be good for him in terms of focusing on tests and ODIs. But yeah,
it probably would be.
He might think differently.
But I would imagine that were he here, he would tell us differently.
Yeah.
Let's
get him on.
The final thing I'd say is on. It's obviously a remarkable achievement. I think 74 international centuries. No, I'm not going to go there. I do think this century is a little bit of a gimme. I mean, Sri Lanka literally played the worst ever in this match.
Yeah,
they lost the most in the history of ODI cricket.
Was it?
317. You got 317.
That was it. Yeah, got me transposed. But yeah,
they couldn't have been any worse. I think. I do think there's an element of it. This particular innings been a little bit flat trap bully.
There's an asterisk.
I know Kohli has got 10 of his international or his ODI centuries.
But I don't think he's going to think like that, and I think that's going to be good for him in that
yeah,
it's out the way as far as he's concerned, and I think for most people aren't going to go, and I doubt he's listening to us go, well, I don't think that really counts for that. I think the pressure's still on.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't count. It's an international century, yeah, and it's not his fault that Sri Lanka have quite obviously checked out of this series because they've got to get their flights to the ILT20. But he's absolutely pulverized them, and then they've just rolled over and been like, yeah, we're going to go home now.
Fair enough.
So yeah, good for Kohli. Good for Kohli fans. There's been some funny banter on the internet. The Rohit Virat rivalry, which I don't think is a rivalry between the players, is it? It's just people on Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter's a funny old place, isn't it?
Laughing about people in hoodies and things like that. Yeah, good for Kohli. There's some other India men's news, wasn't there? That we should tick off. There's been Ishan Kishan and Surya Kumar Yadav are in the Test side. I don't know if you've seen that. I'm pretty sure is yeah. And is it Sarfraz Ahmed, the guy who averages like 80?
Yeah,
the wicketkeeper batter who was like, pretty sure that he was going to get picked. Not on the plane at all.
No,
that was an odd one. He got.
I think quite a few people have been calling for him to be in the side. Haven't they? And it is a little weird because his Ranji Trophy form is nonsense.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. So I we'll see how that goes. I don't think either Surya Kumar or Ishan Kishan are actually going to play. I think they'll be the reserves, but interesting that India are looking at performances in other.
Yeah, well, obviously they need to bring someone in to the squad as a keeper cover. So, less surprising, perhaps, Ishan Kishan, even though like we literally just mentioned someone else who should probably be in there, but whatever.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they see Ishan Kishan as some kind of a like for like replacement for Pant, and there's the left-hander explosive player thing. I don't know. I was just trying to justify it in my mind, or trying to work out what the justification was. Rather,
sometimes it's easier not to.
I'm not sure I fully get it. And it's interesting as well, I think, that India had quite a well-trodden pathway to the Test team, which involved Ranji runs and then representative level runs, then India A runs, and then you get into the team. And they seem to have gone away from that a little bit with these two. Not that, like, I mean, I've just got Ishan Kishan's record up here. Average is 38. Has got nearly 2,000 first-class runs, 6 tons. That's not bad. It's not just a geezer off the street, is it? Like, but it is maybe
get into the England side
when you think there are other potential options out there. And Surya Kumar Yadav, let me get his numbers up here as well, just so we've got the full comparison. Average 44, strike rate of 63. Again, you're taking it, aren't you? But it's maybe there's better red ball options. We'll see. I'm not going to write Surya Kumar Yadav off in anything that involves hitting the ball with a stick. What was the other thing we wanted to talk about?
Mankads.
Part one. Mankads, right. So in the well, we should say the context of this is the Women's Under-19 World Cup, which I think is the first one. I didn't know it was a thing, and now it's a thing, and there are highlights on the BBC. There took a hat trick for South Africa, didn't they?
They did
overnight.
Yeah.
But the kind of the thing that's happening, the thing that's resonating across the cricket world is
once again, it's good to have it back, isn't it? It's been a few months,
and it's like this is the proper breakthrough tournament. I think I don't think anyone saw that happening. Is it 3 Mankads for the tournament now in like a week and a half? Max, age-old question: how angry are you at the Mankad?
What's the opposite of angry? I'd love
Happiness?
it. I have 4 words for anyone who has a problem with Mankads. Stay in your crease. It is that simple. Like, I just the things that people are coming up with is why it's it's against the spirit. It's not how the game should be played. Blah blah blah. The bowler was never even intending on delivering the ball. It's like, well, if the bowler was never intending on delivering the ball, why do you think that was? Was it because the batter was consistently trying to steal 3 yards and gain an advantage? So did they then run them out because they were trying to gain an advantage illegally? Yeah. So run them out. Stay in your crease.
This is what I don't really understand about this thing. Like the default position for a lot of people on it. I think most people acknowledge that it is unfair that the batter leaves their crease and tries to steal some yards. What I don't understand is why them being run out is an unfair punishment for that. Like, what seems to happen whenever this comes up is that the people who are anti-Mankad, and we're going to call it Mankad, I know there's like some debate about whether the family like it or not.
It's easier, isn't it?
It's easier, and also like if you don't want to use Mankad to describe,
I don't want to keep saying non-striker run out.
Well, that's dumb. But also, what are you saying there? Are you saying that for some reason the only reason you wouldn't want, the name of a great player associated with a type of dismissal is if you thought that type of dismissal was somehow dirty or cheating. I don't think on this podcast we think that is the case. Anyway, back to my point.
Yeah.
What seems to happen is that people will be outraged at Mankading and then propose like some kind of stupid
nonsense, insane
law. Negotiate down. They're like, no, it can't be out, but it can be 5 runs or a no ball or like
some of the most complicated, convoluted, like perverse ways of solving a problem that isn't a problem. Anyone who did critical thinking at school or philosophy or something like that would have heard of Occam's razor. The simplest thing is usually the best, basically, is what that means. And like some of the crazy complications people have come up with as to how to solve a problem that doesn't exist is quite something like if the bowler runs in and tries to run someone out, but actually the batter's still in their crease, then it's 5 penalty runs against the bowler. It's like, what? Why?
Yeah. It's dumb. It's a wicket.
I'd go so far as to say that if a bowler manages to catch a batter out by pretending to bowl the ball and then not bowling the ball, that's a skill in itself. Like feigning bowling.
Well, this is the other
to
thing.
a point
This
that
is
the
the other
batter
thing.
believes
People are like,
that they're actually going to deliver the ball.
It's not. There's no skill involved in mankading someone. Well, there is. There is the skill from the bowler to be aware that the non-striker is at the crease. There's also the lack of skill from the batter at the non-strikers end. That's a big part of cricket. Like, if you've ever watched a cricket match, even in Test cricket where there's no pressure on the batters to score, I would say way upwards of half of the wickets are a batter error. Playing at a ball they shouldn't play at, playing a shot they shouldn't be playing. There's a whole load of dumb wickets fall. It's not, you get someone caught on the deep mid wicket boundary from a half tracker. That's not a brilliant piece of skill if you're the bowler. That's
5 penalty runs to the batting side, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think it's people are. It's becoming more common. We had a question from Ross's brother actually. Which makes it sound like no one listens to this podcast, but Rob, Ross's brother, helps us out with some of the video editing and stuff like that. So he's in our WhatsApp chat. Do you think there'll be an increase in Mankads at the amateur level? And I think this would be funny. I
know you do. You tweeted about it, didn't you? You said the trickle down effect is going to cause carnage. Didn't you tweet
I think this was Ross that sent that. This is the problem with having 3 people with access to main. I think we will see Mankads, and I also don't think it's really a problem there. Like it's quite.
It will be for a little bit. There'll be some complaints to league administration, and there'll be fights. But ultimately, once people work out that they just need to stay in their crease, it should all just calm down. But
it's not. It's not really that significant a thing. I mean, like I understand it. If you're playing like a Sunday friendly, or
against the 14, there are
literally
that did
literally
happen.
No stakes.
That did happen in a friendly game in our team last summer. Like we had a 12-year-old playing, I think, and the bowler who was like, the bowler's like a grown man who plays in their second 11, and he man-cutted it. And at that point, you do turn around and you go, right, look. Now, do you want to rescind that appeal because you're a total prick, or do you want to continue being a total prick? And eventually they back down. But but that's not a conversation about man-cadding, is it? That's a conversation about how far you go when you're playing against 12-year-olds in a friendly game on a Sunday, which is supposed to be about getting people into the game.
Well, I mean, look, I think you can make that argument. I think you can say that in certain contexts, you don't need to be going around man-cadding people because the stakes of the game are low enough. But if you're playing in a World Cup, or you're a professional cricketer, or you're playing in serious Saturday cricket at the weekend, then and you're trying to win, and everyone there knows the rules of the game. Everyone is coming along to compete. There's no problem with it. Like
I think the only thing you could do if you really had an issue of like the immediate man-cad was codify a warning. If I don't think if it were real, I don't think you should. But I mean, if you wanted one thing to fix it, that's what I would consider. None of the silly hula hoops about what you can do with penalty runs and video technology, because that's not even transferable to. You can't have people in amateur cricket giving out penalty runs. That's not going to work either.
Well, I think that's a good point. I'd say no warnings, but just to touch on lots of people have been saying, why don't you have video footage? And if the batter's out of the crease when the ball's delivered, it's a penalty run or one short or something like that. The reason you can't really have that, I think, is because then you're playing with a different set of rules at an international level to even the domestic level. Like they're not going to be doing that in the county championship.
It's like sometimes having VAR in the FA Cup and sometimes not.
So I'd say no to that. Anyway, Mankads, Adam Zampa did one, didn't he? He didn't get away with it because apparently his arm went too far. I don't know if we talked about that on the show. That was weird as well. But yeah.
I'm sure there'll be more niche cases, edge cases that come out of it when it starts being more of a thing. But I welcome more debate.
Only actual problem with Mankads are,
Yeah, what's up?
is that I think it makes quick singles less likely, and I think quick singles are exciting. Like a lot happens. There's athleticism in the field to try and stop it. The batters are sprinting. You might get a dive. That is an exciting piece of cricket.
You can put the 30-yard circle 1 yard further out.
Well, maybe the 31-yard circle. Maybe that's the solution. Obviously, if you have a Mankad and people are in their crease, then they might not go for those quick singles, and they can be fun. So maybe we lose out there. But it's you'd actually have to see what.
I think it seems unlikely
was
that it's going to have that much of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, it might a little. It might. These things. It might encourage. Well, I don't know. It probably won't. I think
because a lot of I think. I mean, I guess we're going on a tangent here, but quick singles wise, I think a lot of them end up going to mid off and mid on, don't they? In that sort of extra cover area, and a lot of the time, you might go shy at the bowlers end there. I don't know. That's
true. Actually, I saw Joe Root run out yesterday or the day before by James Vince doing exactly that.
Yes.
Anyway, that's Mankads and stuff. Just wanted to say one final thing before because we've got to record this in 2 parts, haven't we? Because Ross has stolen the keys to the Zoom. And this is it doesn't really fit into anywhere else in the show, but I think it's funny in English domestic cricket how people are getting really upset with Sussex County Cricket Club for trying to sign Steve Smith. I don't know if you've been following along with the story back.
Yeah, that's really weird, isn't it? Surrey tried to get Kohli a couple of years back, just before the England-India series, but he got injured and had to pull out. I don't remember there being a massive furore about that at the time, but maybe that's because everyone just expects it from Surrey. But I don't see the issue. Like, why? I mean, you've got the opportunity to sign someone really good for a few games in the county championship. Why would you not want, as a bowler, to test yourself against the best players? Like, you can talk about maybe like, he'll be facing Jofra Archer in the nets and all that stuff. I mean, if you're Jofra Archer in the nets, you could just refuse to bowl at him or consistently bowl at your head if you really think that's a problem.
I think Kyle Jamieson refused to bowl at Kohli, didn't he, when they were both at RCB before the World Test Championship?
If you really think that's an issue, that's my part. I mean, for the most part, surely in county cricket, given all the chat about rebel reset and all that stuff, why wouldn't you want the best players in the world playing? Well, it'll get people to go. I'd go and watch Steve Smith play for Sussex. Yeah. I'd love to see him play live for my county.
I went to see Pujara last year.
Well, there you go. Exactly. Just because he was there. It gets people through the door. It's money. It gets. I don't see it. I mean, I see why. I can see the negatives that people are pointing out, but I don't think they're big, and I think there are more positives. And I
think it was Ben Stokes said he didn't want Smith to get the practice in England, but the guy got 900 runs after not playing for 18 months last time.
Yeah, I don't think 4 matches last time he came. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. You can try and I suppose equivocate with people going over and playing in Sheffield Shield, and that doesn't happen that often. But why does that not happen that often? Probably because mostly people don't want to go and, it's usually grey cricket they end up playing, isn't it? But usually people don't want to just go and spend their Christmas playing grey cricket when they could be at home and they've had a ridiculous summer of cricket.
I also think it's strange. Like Sussex last year used 30 players in the county championship.
Yeah,
they had to fire their head coach because he had a fight with one of the players. Their chairman had a Twitter fight, not a physical fight like the coach, with a bloke on another cricketer or with a professional cricketer on Twitter. And the same chairman said that they would rather hold music concerts than cricket matches at their ground in August. And the thing they're getting shit for is that they want Steve Smith, maybe the best test match batter since Don Bradman, to come over and play 4 matches for them. Like, that's a good thing. Anyway, that's that. We're going to wrap up part 1 of the show, or this video, and we'll be back in a few seconds or in another video with some SA20 chat, some IL20 chat, Joe Clark hitting the roof, and questions.
Nice.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.